Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for coming to my channel. And once again, I want to always thank you for your support, for that constant support in sometimes in just phone calls or messages, your support through Venmo, through PayPal, all these wonderful things that I'm receiving during this time of crisis is helping me to keep producing and keep doing this. And remember, it's not only about me, it's about all the, especially the tango community, all the artists that we do this for a living. We need your support. So I know that a lot of you are desperate to come back. Be a little bit more patient and help us to keep the torch of tango alive by helping every virtual activity that it's going on out there. There's a lot of a different variety of very helpful and very thoughtful material that is being produced. So I really would like to thank you, but also encourage you to keep doing so. The crisis is not over yet. We really have to be patient, and during this process, let's help each other. We're going to keep producing interesting things for you to try at home, and we need your support as well. So nevertheless, thank you so very much for all the help that you're giving us. Talking about new things, I just started last week a very interesting podcast about tangos and their lyrics. It is called The Tangling Tangos. I chose that name because it's like a combination of untangle and dissect. So it's The Tangling Tangos. And what we do in that half hour is to talk about the lyrics and stories behind the tangos, the most famous tangos that we know and we dance on a regular basis. So it's a very interesting thing to do. I'm going to post a link together with this lesson so you can go and listen to it. Okay, it's very interesting. Grab your favorite drink and just listen to it. It's just very, very interesting. You're going to love it. So today we're going to keep doing a little bit what we did last week. However, this time we're going to work with sacadas. Sacadas, the term sacada means literally, if I would translate sacada into English, it would be to steal. So, but I want you to remember this term of stealing. You're stealing not not something that it's physical. You're stealing the space that the follower is using at some point. And I am starting by explaining you intellectually what the term means, because most of the time we get confused and we think that we have to use our legs to make that particular movement to happen. So I want you, especially for you leaders that you're leading this, everything as usual, it's not secret. Everything is coming from your core. Nothing in particular is happening to the leg of your dance partner, because the leg of your dance partner needs to fly because you're doing something with your upper body, with your core. So before we get there, I want to practice a little bit of an exercise that we did probably many months ago. And that exercise is, see, we're going to make forward ochos. And I want you to walk and get used to walk in front of your other foot. I'm going to be explaining this a little bit later during the footwork part. But for now, I want you to walk and try to switch your direction in a forward ocho. Look the way I'm walking. My upper body is looking at the camera, but my legs, my lower body is going up front. So I go, and all I have to do is move my lower body using my core muscles. It's like doing this all the time. If you try to do this movement at home, once again, I just want to start with some exercises that are going to help you understand better this when we practice. See, my shoulders and my hips are all in one line. And then I'm going to try to move just my hips. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same movement, but moving my shoulders. This is the movement that I want you to feel. Okay? This association. When you use the muscles around your core, then you understand a lot better what it's like to do these exercises. So we're going to do 2 sacadas for now, but the thing is that first, before we get into the steps, I want to practice a little bit just forward ocho. See, I'm going to step. My chest is going to try to be right in front of you. And then I'm going to look how I'm, and this is a reminder, I'm sorry. This is a reminder. This exercise is not only for the leaders, it's for the followers as well. So I want you to imagine that you're dancing the Havana Gila a little bit. My elbows are in the same plane as my shoulders, as disassociated 90 degrees as possible. I'm going to step under my elbow, and then I'm going to walk, pivot, and then again under my elbow. For a second, I'm going to leave that leg. See, I leave it behind, and I almost have, with the corner of my eye, I almost look at it, and then I'm going to move my hips from my core to bring that lower body to the 180 degree that I already did with my upper body. So I'm going to do this first in slow motion. So I step, I elongate that leg completely, and then I'm going to try to bring it using the muscles of my core. In order to do that pivot without losing my balance, see, my leg is behind, I pull it from the muscles up here, and then I need to use my obliques kind of to lift that hip up. So look carefully at what I'm doing. And then I walk again. The more I keep my leg straight, the more I'm going to be able to keep my balance. In both cases, leaders and followers, we are, just for today, we're focusing in this forward ocho that is actually going to make our sacadas happen a little bit better. Okay? Now, from last week, if you remember what we did last week, we did the basic cross system walk. We did molinete on our right side. We did molinete on our left side. We did a syncopation, and then we did an ocho cortado. So, to all that set of movements that we did last week, we're going to add this. In the first part, I'm just going to do the sacadas, so you don't have too much in your head. So, this is the movements for the gentleman. So, you are going to do everything the same as last week up until you get to the crossing. What does that mean? Side step, I lift her up, I hold her for a second while I switch my weight to my right foot, freeing the left. The left is going to walk in the same line of dancing as her left foot. In. The right goes out of her line of dance, out. My next step with the left goes out and then in. And you remember that in order to lead the cross, I have to switch my weight towards my left foot. I have to turn and then invite her to go here. And again, I'm going to move a little bit here. I'm switching my weight to my left foot. So the next thing that is happening is that my right foot is free. So that foot, instead of just staying there, is going to move in between her legs. I'm going to explain that a little bit better when I'm using the sticks. But I want you to do one sacada, and then the next thing that is going to happen, you're going to lead her into another forward ocho, and then when she walks again, you're going to be stepping in between her feet, another sacada, switch your weight to the right foot, and then finish 6, 7, and 8. Okay? Now I'm going to repeat that, but with more movement, less words. Cross system, in, out, out, in, cross. I lead her pivot. She's walking forward. I do sacada, sacada again. That allows me to pivot a little bit, and then I finish 6, 7, and 8. Now, pay attention to what I'm going to do with the sticks, because it's very, very interesting. So, Ginger and Fred, you can recognize that the right leg is Ginger because it's very feminine. Fred is the left. So I'm going side, in, out, out, in, cross, uncross, forward step, 6, 7, and 8. It's like magic, right? But I'm going to now explain what is happening in every part of the movement. We get there. This is the cross system step. Here I am going to take a side step. I lift her up. Meanwhile, I'm switching my weight. I'm releasing my left foot, and with that same left foot, I walk in the line of dance, or her left foot. Then my right goes outside of that line. Then outside again on the line, but on the other line of the other foot. Then I step in the same line of her right foot with my right foot, and then I lead cross. Look how my weight, immediately I lead the cross, it's forward on my right foot, right? And I'm elongating my left. In order to uncross, I'm going to move my torso to my left side. Her leg is hanging here. And then while I'm switching, I'm going to move quick, and see, I'm going to step right next. When I meant in between, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go perfectly in between her legs. I'm going to step closer to the left to the leg that she's leaving behind. In this case is her left leg. Then, see, and here we practice what we were practicing at the very beginning. I step and I have to pivot. Then she's going to step again with her left, and then I'm going to walk closer this time with my left foot, closer to her right foot, and then I'm going to pivot again. This constant pivoting is creating movement. That's what we want. And here, look how that would be the right ending. But here, because she is still pivoting on her left foot, I can go 6, 7, and 8. It's not mandatory to do that much of movement, but I want you to imagine what it would be if you create more pivot. The moment I'm going to explain this, actually moving my own body, I want you to always feel that by creating more pivot, you create that spinning movement that you're creating. It's allowing more steps, more interesting things. If you pivot, look at my whole body. If you pivot like this, it's not bad, but it's not tango, and it limits my movements, my creativity, my technique to just do certain steps. Very, let me call them a little bit too primitive, because I'm not using my whole body. I'm probably using my legs from my knees down. We have a lot more of muscle, a lot of more joints, and I want you to use all of them in order to create more movement. The more you move more, you create this illusion that your body is like moving in different areas. Here you're doing something, in the middle section you're doing something, and in the lower section you're doing something else. Okay? So create this illusion that everything in your body is working. I mean, you're working most of your body, but if you acquire these technical skills, it's going to be you're going to be able to create this illusion that you have more parts in your body that are moving. Okay, so the opposite of that is, look how I can create movement. I step, if I want, I can do 360 degrees, but I don't want you to do that. But when I spin like that, it feels like there's more time to do other things. It opens up to different possibilities, and I want you to remember that. Now, in this particular step that we're doing, all I'm asking you to do is, you step with the right in the first sacada, try to spin while she's, see, and I'm going to discuss this later on with the ladies, but with the followers, it is very important. If you create that speed, the followers have to be in that same speed for the next step to happen. Okay? If you lead with one speed your upper body and a different speed the pivot, you know, this is like acrobatics. Everything needs to be very, very calculated, so, and very symmetrical. If you fail to make your body work in that way, you're going to trip a little bit. Okay? Now, I want you to make sure that when you walk in the first step, leave your leg a little bit behind. That leaving your leg behind is giving you the lead of your torso. Your torso still is moving her in a kind of like a delayed way. If you move her at the same time that you're doing the step, you're going to always arrive late to that second sacada, especially. Okay? So I'm going to show you once again with the sticks what I mean. And I'm going to do it right from the crossing, which is cross. See, I did tangle. She's walking forward, and it's like my upper body is doing this, and I'm leaving my foot. I'm not moving my lower body until I have to like make that effort. And though that effort is being made by my core muscles. She walks and I go, phew. See, I step and I move her. It's like the matadores move like this. First, the cape is being shown and then the bull passes, right? So I move first my upper body and then I let the bull pass. That is going to create a larger space for the leader to make longer steps. If you fail, see, this is not correct. If you fail to do so, like, see, if I do this, I already, like, I'm tripping over her own legs. And that is provided that the lady has a good technique because I delayed the movement. But if she doesn't have a technique, if she's learning the same way that you're learning, she's going to be, see, her foot is already here and you're going to be tripping on her body, like making everything like too small. The reason why we're creating this humongous disassociation of your upper body is in order to create space around you. Okay, so one more time, the whole exercise now. I'm going to do side step, lift her up, walk in, out, out, in, cross, uncross, forward ocho, I pivot, I let her walk the next forward ocho, I step, I pivot, 6, 7, 8. Now, how can I do that same exercise, but continuing to the exercises that we did before? Look how I'm going to do. Once again, if you cannot do this part, don't pass to this next stage because this is a little bit for the a more advanced level. But for the advanced level, this is for you to try to do something a little bit longer. So I do the cross system step. I'm going to do first sacada, second sacada, and from this sacada, I go to the molinete on my left side. She finishes that molinete, and I am going to go to the molinete on the right side. She finishes doing that, syncopation, ocho cortado, and I keep dancing. Okay, one more time from the other side. I go side step, in, out, in, cross. I do the first sacada, the second sacada, I switch my weight, and in her back ocho, I do the lapis. I finish the lapis touching her left foot. She comes forward, steps over my foot, and then when she starts walking forward, I switch my weight to my right, to my left foot, I'm sorry. Then I start moving, and when she's walking back ocho, I'm going to go the other lapis. I place my foot right next to her right foot. I let her go over that foot. She steps forward, and then I'm going to do syncopation, ocho cortado, and then I'm going to finish 6, 7, and 8. Okay? This exercise, like I said earlier, requires a little bit of connection in your upper body more than just your feet. Your feet, as you have seen, my feet are never touching her legs. A lot of people think that because it sounds like sacada, you know, that term in Spanish sounds a little bit aggressive, sacada. So it means, like, a lot of people think that you have to kick the leg of the lady, or you have to touch or push away. If you touch her leg, something is wrong. This is, you're stepping in between her legs in order to create that energy, never to kick her. Once again, we are dancing. We can never push. We can never force anything. It looks like she's going to have, if you really do it correctly, using your technique and a very strong upper body, it's going to look like her leg is flying. But that's because actually you're using your technique, not because you're kicking her. So if you have, for some reason, learned to do it that way, or seen that way, and you acquire to your own body, forget about it. We never touch the legs of the lady in that way. We always are caressing. We are sometimes inviting for her to come forward, but we never hit her. Okay? So let's see what we have to do as followers. Well, for the ladies, this is going to be, in a way, not really difficult, but in different, from a different perspective. What I'm going to demand you is to use this association at the max. If you're not able to feel this, then most likely what happens here, the most common mistake is that you're trying to move together your leg, your shoulder, and your hip at the same time. I want to remind you that the perfect pivot is always going to be the one that has your body taking you upwards. See, if I keep my core elongated and upwards, it's easier for me to move my lower body. If I go towards the ground, if I shrink a little bit, then the movement is going to be short and I'm not going to be able to control it. See, I can control it probably a little bit, but then at some point, if, for example, the leader stops, let's say the music is calling for a very nice and elongated pause, like the music that is playing in the background, Osvaldo Pugliese. And he wants to hold it here. See how like I'm shaky? It's very hard to keep that posture if you're going with both legs bent. And in a aesthetical way, you don't look very good when you have both legs bent. Okay? So the correct way is to have one leg bent and the other elongated. Okay? So in this case, what are we doing? Again, the first exercise we did at the very beginning, I'm walking and I'm leaving my leg behind up until I can, with the corner of my eye, I can look at it. And then I'm using my upper body to pull that leg. In your case, ladies, or followers in general, this movement is happening not because you decide to do it. It's because the leader is leading you. So, in a way, I'm not going to say it is easier, but it's a lot different because you're not creating that energy to move your own body. You have to be patient. So it's like, see, the leader is moving that way, you're following the leader, but He's inviting you to walk forward, but he's kind of moving behind you. So wait until he moves you, moves that lower body. Don't try to connect the lead of his core with the lead of your feet, because there's a delay. You're making that delay because that's your technique. You're enhancing the movement by using your technical skills. If you say, you can be dancing with the best dancer in the whole world, but if you don't have your own technique, you're always going to look bad. There's nothing that leader is going to be able to change if you're not using a strong and solid technical skills. So this is what I'm talking about. So in the first part of the exercise, I was telling you to leave that leg that you're leaving behind, and it's very important. Not so much for the leaders, nobody's looking at us, so I can be making mistakes. On the other hand, my legs are protected with my pants. If I am like here, see, it's still, I'm bending my knee. If I pull my pants, see how my knee is bent? But nobody notices because my pants are covering that knee. When you dance tango, you usually are showing off your beautiful knees and your beautiful legs. So if you keep your knee like this, aesthetically, you're breaking the line. I want you to make sure that you're feeling your axis perfectly aligned here, and then your line of dance from your core to the floor, everything is in just one line. Okay? So when you're doing this exercise in that forward ocho, the first one that the leader is inviting you, I want you to make the forward ocho, and while he's pivoting you, you are exercising what we did last week, that is like elongate that part. And then let the energy bring you forward. Make the step. The forward step is always an elongation. I'm pointing at the last minute. I switch to my heel. I draw that line behind me. I wait until the leader brings me forward. And then whatever comes next. By leaving your leg behind, you're giving a hint, a perfect hint for the leader to do that sacada. If you don't leave that leg and you move it together with your hip and together with your shoulders, the leaders, no matter how hard and fast that he tries to do this, he's never going to catch that precise moment that is like step in that spot before you keep going. Okay? I'm going to show you with the sticks and it's going to be a lot clearer. But first, let's go over the steps. So what you're doing is what we did last week. We're going to get into the crossing starting in a cross system basic step. So side step, the leader holds you up, so you don't do anything other than you can move the leg that is not the leg that the dancing leg is dancing if you want to do that. You can be waiting here, you can do that same thing with the heel, but then you walk back, trying to always walk in one straight line, and then at some point you're going to go cross. The leader is going to invite you to cross. So here is the practice. You feel the uncrossing and walk long, nice, and say, I wait here until the leader brings you to that forward ocho again, and he pivots your body. The same here. That feeling of letting the leader do the job is, in a way, I cannot say that it's exciting, but it's like you're letting him do his job and not anticipating to the step. I know that when I show you the steps, it's for you to remember what you have to do at some point, but not for you to move unless you're being led, you're being invited. I have repeated this constantly. If you keep doing the job of the leader, you're contributing that leader to be a little bit lazy. So his lead is always going to be like not clear. But if you remain like boom and you like stay there until you feel the leader is going to be learning how to make that effort to move your body in a more clear way, because that's what I want. I don't want strong lead. I don't want rough lead. I want a very clear lead. Okay? So remember that in this particular part. I'm going to do it again on the other side. So we go side step, leader lifts. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. The first step goes here. I elongate my left side, and the first sacada happens there. Second sacada happens in this foot. I'm going to let that happen, and finally do 6, 7, and 8. If you practice this, because again, I want you to learn how to do this with your own body, regardless if you're practicing with a dance partner or you're doing it all by yourself. The muscles in your back have to hurt after you're doing this, see? Because I'm using that area. All the muscles here are working to bring that lower body to match with what the upper body is doing. Okay? So I want you to, after the lesson, when you practice this, your core, those muscles have to be engaged. You have to feel a little bit of pain, a little bit of, I can use this muscle, because you know it's not just going on the sides, it's my back, it's the muscles in my abdomen that are working. Now let me show you with the sticks. Left leg of the leader, right leg of the leader. So I'm going to make very small steps in order to get to the cross. Side step, he lifts you up, you play with that foot, he walks in, out, in, and cross. Here, he's preparing you, he uncrosses you, and he's going to immediately, with the same leg that he has forward, he's going to invite you to cross, but he's going to do the sacada here. So his upper body is already moving you forward, so follow the upper body. If I look at his feet, I'm going to be completely lost. So I'm going to be up here. The leader is sending me to a forward ocho, so I'm going to go in a very nice forward ocho and look where he is placing his foot. So allow that to happen, and then he's going to pivot and lead another forward ocho with his upper body to go far away. So walk far away and leave that other leg. Like I explained a little bit earlier, it is very important. If you pivot, the more that you pivot, the more opportunities you're creating. The less that you pivot, the less opportunities you create for more interesting movements to happen. So, in a way, you're going to say, oh, Rene, but I thought that the leader was the responsible of everything. He's not. You have a role. The leader have a role. The leader is creating certain things, and he's creating some spaces. Your ability to read those, how to use those spaces and enhance the movement is also yours. So to me, when a lot of you ladies say, oh, but that's the responsibility of the leader. Yes, at certain point it is, because we need to give you a lot of energy for your body to move. However, not all the time. Even if you're I'm going to give you an example. When I danced with my dance teacher, and she was already a star, and I was kind of like an intermediate beginner, and she danced with me. I was so very nervous, and I said, I'm going to make you look awful. And I started doing and she didn't tell me anything. She just kept dancing, and I kept doing the exercises that we were doing, and she was doing it so well. People started videotaping that part, and I was like, I was sweating buckets, like thinking, oh my God, why the hell the people are so crazy that are videotaping my mistakes? And then they showed me the video. They shared the video with me. My dance instructor, a female, she was perfectly doing everything using the very little energy that I was giving her. So if that makes me, this experience is that I want you to take to show you that if you really work in your own little technical parts, no matter who is leading you, you're always going to be looking good. Even if you're doing a basic or you're doing a colgada, doesn't matter. The idea is that you have a strong technical skill. So let me explain one more time from the crossing. The leader is with his right leg forward, and you are doing a crossing. So he's going to uncross. He's going to invite you to walk forward. In that forward step, try not to walk towards the leader. Walk in front of your other foot, so the leader has enough room here to walk. I'm going to talk about your footwork a little bit later, but see, when you try to draw that line, you have to elongate your ankle and then pivot. Immediately after you do that forward ocho, the leader is going to invite you again to do another step, and he's going to do a sacada on the other foot. And there's going to happen a lot of pivot in here. And then the finish 6, 7, and 8. If you are an advanced level dancer, I'm going to show you how to do the last part, the last lesson that we did, which is basic cross system. We're doing now 2 sacadas, molinete on one side, molinete on the other side, a syncopation, a rebound, and then ocho cortado. So I'm going to try to make smaller steps, side step, you play with that, and then you go back, 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 cross. In this first part, the leader does 1 sacada, second sacada, and from here you're going to feel how the leader is taking you to the first molinete. All you have to do is remember to make the steps under your elbows. You can do embellishment here, and then he's going to take you to the other side, forward side. He does his lapis, then he's going to take you to syncopated step, and then ocho cortado, then finish 6, 7, and 8. From the other perspective, just walk in the very beginning of the step, sacada, second sacada, molinete on one side, Molinete on the other side. Syncopation. Ocho cortado. 6, 7, and 8. So there you have a very nice set of steps. And again, ladies, if you cannot, if you still have doubts in the first part of the exercise, try not to do it completely. I know that intellectually, probably you can understand it, but the idea is that I want first your muscle memory to work. The more that you have the muscle memory in your own body, it's going to be a lot easier to follow whatever it comes, okay? And don't forget, even if you're dancing in an open embrace, when you dance actually in an open embrace, your eyes have to be in connection, constant connection with the torso of the leader. You have to observe where the leader is going by never losing any movement that he might be doing. The movements that we leaders do with our upper body sometimes are very subtle, but at the same time, take advantage that the muscles of the leaders are a little bit larger than your muscles. So it's kind of like, it probably is subtle, but it's evident when you know, when you learn how to observe clearly, you know what part of the body is moving, and then as a consequence, you know how to follow that part, or at least how I'm explaining you to follow that part. So at the very beginning, we cannot just do close embrace. To learn this, I want you to always observe what is happening in the upper body of the leader. If you feel that there is like a movement, analyze it. What does he want me to do? Everybody, every leader has a different shape of torso. Some of us, like me, my torso is a little bit shorter than my legs. Other men are going to have larger torsos or wider torsos or skinny torsos, but you have to adapt and learn how to read what is the information that they have so you can follow correctly, okay? So with that said, I want to remember also the leaders that, once again, in order to move that, in order to create that disassociation, it is imperative that you learn to move your upper body first. So to remember that, see, imagine that this is the wall in your house. I want you to practice without moving my feet. My feet are spread away the width of my shoulders, and I'm going to be doing this exercise. If you want to do it a little bit harder and work the your lats, you can lean for a little bit. Lean and go. Lean and go. Okay, that exercise is going to help you a lot in your disassociation. Now let's see what we have to do in our footwork, which is probably the most important part of this set of steps. Okay, so for our feet, as usual, I'm taking off my shoes. I don't want you to practice this without your shoes. I just do so because I want you to see how my toes are moving, how the arch of my foot is moving. I'm double jointed, so my feet can flex in a weird way. I don't want you to think that you have to acquire the flexibility that my feet have, but you know, they are showing you what would be the ideal of doing this. Talking about that, a few of you were asking me how to do certain exercises, and I want to show you an exercise that we did a few weeks ago, which consists in order to practice this strength in the muscles of your feet, all you have to do is put a towel on the floor and, making sure that you're not too far from, your heel is not too far from the towel. Try to bring the towel under your foot. This exercise is very, it requires a lot of patience. In this case, my floor is very, very slippery, at least for the towel, so it's a little bit difficult to do this. If the best way to do this is to do it barefoot, because you're going to have a little bit more grip on the towel, and when the towel comes completely behind your foot, try to extend it this time. This is more than any other thing, teaching you a little bit of precision in the movements of your whole foot, I would say. Precision in terms of exactly what you want, which is very hard in our feet. When we don't have that ability to move our toes that much, it's at first we're going to feel that it's like we have to think that movement. At first it's going to be hard, but the more that you practice, the better it's going to feel. And also that exercise is really good if you have bunions. It's really, it helps you to make sure that that joint works a lot better. Now, as I was saying before, in the very beginning of the lesson, it is so very important for us to walk in just one line. When we walk in one line, say if I go without thinking too much in a forward line, I'm going to lose my balance immediately. So whenever you're trying to do this, I'm going to take that side in a diagonal step, and I want you to make sure, see, I switch my weight towards my right foot. I'm going to walk with my left, but all my weight for a second is on my right only. Then I follow the instructions. I'm pointing with my toes, and at the last minute, at the last second, I go with my heel. In this process, in all this process, the muscles of my legs are really active. I cannot walk a forward step like this and pretend to stop. That is not going to work, because all of a sudden my muscles were not connected, and only when I arrive to the ground I'm trying to connect. That's not how we dance. We need to dance like preparing with anticipation every step that we're going to make. So how I'm preparing that first step, I'm transferring my weight on my right leg, and I'm closing my hip. I'm elongating as far as I can, and then I make the step. When I'm making the step, my ankle, my right ankle is getting stretched, and see, it's pushing the ground so I can go forward. So in both cases, leaders and followers, if you practice these these two forward ochos that we both are doing, I want you to make sure that when you practice in slow motion, preparing your step, creating that, then turning your upper body first, and then dragging that foot. In exactly the same exercise with the other foot. I elongate, I arrive, and I move my torso, pivot. Immediately you finish the pivot, your hip of that same side, of the dancing leg, has to be up. That leg should be able to hang completely free. And the only way that it can hang that completely free is if you're pulling your hip up using your oblique muscles. And then you try it again. I elongate, stretch, move my upper body, hold it. At first, you have seen in my first step, I almost lost my balance, and it is very hard to keep your balance straight. However, the slower you do, you are creating that muscle memory that I was talking about a little bit earlier. And slowly you're going to find that when you do it with a little bit of a speed, it's a little bit better. So when you're dancing with a dance partner, that is not going to be just a little bit better, it's going to be a lot better. You're going to be able to feel completely comfortable about that. So that forward ocho to begin with. Okay, now as I told you before, I'm going to use just one stick. If I don't get used to walk straight forward, and if a lot of women think that if you place your foot like this, you're helping the leader to pivot you better. But actually, that's making it a lot worse. So get used to walk in a straight line. You feel the sacada. The sacada, like the stick is doing, the stick is never touching my foot. Actually, the stick is representing the leader. Do you remember that I told you at the very beginning, I gave you the definition of what sacada was. And that's exactly what is the leader doing right now. Let me explain that. I'm using this space in the universe. This kind of like oval space consisting in my 2 feet elongated, and the width of my shoulders is mine. But by the leader is stepping here and switching his weight over on this foot, he's stealing that space. Now he's using the space I was using before. So sacada means to take away the space that you were using before. This is a very interesting way of describing a movement. It took me a while to understand it myself, but at the same time, it's like, it's so very, from the perspective of a dancer, what you're doing is like you're stealing this space. But why do we call it steal? In a way, is because the ladies, if I am a leader, the ladies should never notice that I did that. That's the reason. If I wouldn't let her know, it would be an invitation to use her space. But I'm taking it. I'm not asking her. I'm not even letting her know. I'm pickpocketing that space from her without her noticing. And that is happening because of that switch of weight that the leader is doing very quickly, very agilely, with a lot of agility, and using his upper body. Now, the key here is, in order to understand that this association that I want you to practice by doing the exercise against the wall, or moving just your either your upper body or your lower body, that comes in practice at this point. You're stepping forward. The leader, you don't even notice this leg going behind you, but for practice, I want you to let your left leg go without any movement up until you feel that the leader is moving you. Only then that leg, see, if you move everything all together in that forward step, it doesn't feel like a sacada. It always has to feel that you're leaving, like you're a comet and you're leaving your tail behind you. See? I'm walking, my upper body is pivoting, and my lower body is coming at the very end of it all, not to gather everything. This is one of the few exercises that we have done so far that requires us leaders and followers to do exactly the same. As a homework, all we're doing is trying to remember that we have to create a very nice and elongated line. However, as a leader, I have to worry a lot in making my first step. See how I make the first step? Boom! I'm still leaving I'm moving my upper body very quickly. I'm leaving that leg behind. But the important part is right after the step, I need to pivot. Bam, and the pivot happens immediately. But I have to be very careful not to pivot together with the leg and my core and my shoulders. That leg is being left behind. Bam, bam, If I want to count, see, I'm going to do it in 2 times. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. In the number 2, my foot is moving. Now, make sure that when that foot, the foot that is behind your body, I know that you don't have to think too much about this, but it would be terrible if you pivot dragging that foot like this. This is not correct. And this is for both leaders and followers. This would make your ankle susceptible to accidents. We never ever walk like this. We want, by the contrary, train our body to go towards the ball of the foot. Okay? The more that you go towards the ball of the feet, your calves work out a lot better. So when you're doing these elongated forward ochos, I want you to remember that in order to create that line, look at my left leg, please. In order to create that perfect line, I wait until the last moment and I'm dragging still the side of my toe. Slowly and little by little, you're going to develop this ability of the muscles in the back, in your lower back, to pull the rest of your body and almost leave for a second that leg behind. Once again, when you're a leader, you want to emphasize the forward step more than the one that is coming behind. You want to emphasize the forward step, the pivot, and finally the pivot, I mean the collection that is coming as a consequence of the pivot. When you're the follower, you want to emphasize in the leg that you're leaving behind. You do the forward ocho nice and following the leaders. And with that other leg, if you want to leave it a little bit, even more behind than the leader, you can also draw something. When I say, it's because I am moving my upper body first, and then I don't have a leader that is leading this. I'm kind of like delaying a little bit the movement, you disassociating completely my upper body from my lower body. So in your case, you walk forward nice and easy, but make sure that you're worried about this leg. In this case, it's my left leg. And look at my toes, my ankles, and my knee. Everything is going to be connected. And let the leader take you to that step. In the other leg, the same thing. I elongate as far as I can. If you want to do any embellishment, it's a lot easier when everything is elongated. In a way, it happens as a consequence of you elongating that leg, and then you can use it to do other things, which is basically this embellishment that, if you can do it, is the reverse. The leaders are doing a lapis and you're doing a curl. The leaders go away, you go inwards. Okay, so by practicing, if you go to the first probably the first 5 lessons that we did in this series, you're going to find all this exercise one by one. How to transfer your weight, how to take care of it, how to exercise. We did the exercise of the towel as well. So please try to, once again, this is not exactly to make you a better dancer just by itself. This is building your technical skills. The more that you're stronger in your toes, you're stronger in your ankles, you're stronger in your knees, you're strong in your hips, in your core, everything is going to happen a lot different. Although we are not professional dancers, but I mean, not all of us are professional dancers, but from the professional perspective, I would like you to learn how to use these little parts of your body in order to enhance your movements, that on a social level is going to make you look like a professional. Okay? Well, once again, thank you so very much for coming to this lesson, to allow me to be in your houses for this hour. Don't forget, wonderful things are happening. I just released my second podcast today, Saturday, and it's going to be available at 6 o'clock, but I'm going to promote it tomorrow too, when I release this lesson. And you're going to be able to listen to this second podcast by following the link that I am going to share together with the link of this lesson. Grab a drink, your favorite drink, and listen to these stories that are very, very interesting. They are about the tango songs, but from the perspective of the lyrics and the lyrics only. There's a lot of poetry, there's a lot of historical events that happen in there, so it's very, very entertaining and very educative at the same time to learn more about our beloved tango. And of course, as usual happens every Sunday, I will be with you answering your questions, talking about tango, commenting about this podcast today, Sunday at 7:30 p.m. in our virtual Milonga. So don't miss it. I really would like to see you. So let's meet there for now until everything goes back to normal. Slowly, but eventually it's going to happen. Okay? Well, thank you so very much again, and I will see you in a bit.